Happiness doesn't make you cry. Something else does, and it's not what you think. The same reaction that shows up at funerals shows up at weddings, reunions, and finish lines, because your body has one system for emotional overload, not two, and understanding it explains one of the strangest things you do without ever questioning it. Crying is supposed to mean something specific. It's a distress signal, the thing your body does when something is wrong, when you're hurt, when you're grieving, when you need help and can't say it out loud in any other way. That's what it evolved for. So the moment a bride walks down the aisle, or a father watches his kid take a first step, or a stranger opens a door for you on the worst day of your life, none of that should trigger the same physical response as pain. And yet it does. Same tightening in the throat, same stinging in the eyes, same tears, running down the same face, using the same glands. For a long time, scientists didn't have a clean answer for this. It seemed like an evolutionary glitch, a signal misfiring, sending the "something is wrong" alert during moments when everything was, for once, going right. But the more researchers looked at what's actually happening in the brain and body during happy tears, the more it became clear this isn't a glitch at all. It's not even really about happiness. It's about something much bigger than the emotion sitting on the surface. Here's the part that surprises most people. Your nervous system doesn't have a separate switch for happy and sad. It has a switch for intensity. When an emotion crosses a certain threshold, the same physiological response gets triggered, regardless of whether the feeling behind it is good or bad. This is why you'll see someone laugh so hard they start crying, or cry so hard they start laughing. It's not confusing. It's the brain hitting the ceiling of one emotion and spilling into its opposite just to release the pressure. Psychologist Oriana Aragon at Yale studied this directly. Her research looked at people reacting to overwhelmingly positive stimuli like being shown pictures of adorable babies, and found that many of them responded with expressions that looked distressed. Some even said things like, "I just want to squeeze it," while looking at something they loved, which is the same aggressive-sounding language you'd expect from frustration, not affection. Aragon called these dimorphous expressions emotional reactions that outwardly resemble the opposite of what's actually being felt inside. In other words, the face doesn't always perform the emotion. It performs the intensity of the emotion. And crying is one of the clearest examples of that. You're not crying because you're happy. You're crying because you're at capacity, and happiness is simply what pushed you there this time. This reframes the entire question. It's not, "Why do happy moments sometimes make me cry?" It's, "Why does my body treat overwhelming happiness the same way it treats overwhelming grief?" And that answer goes deeper than a single study. To understand why the body reacts this way, it helps to think of emotion less like a light switch and more like a thermostat. Your nervous system isn't just trying to feel things, it's trying to keep you regulated, to bring you back to a stable baseline after any kind of spike, positive or negative. This is called homeostasis, and it's the same principle your body uses to control temperature, heart rate, and blood sugar. Emotion isn't exempt from it. When something overwhelmingly good happens, you see someone you haven't hugged in years, you watch your kid win the thing they've worked years for, you get news you'd stopped letting yourself hope for, your emotional system spikes hard and fast. And a spike, even a good one, is still a departure from baseline. Crying, in this context, acts almost like a release valve. It's the nervous system's way of processing the intensity and pulling itself back down to a place it can function from again. This is worth sitting with for a second, because it changes how you might think about a moment you've probably lived by yourself. Maybe at a wedding, watching two people who mean something to you finally get their moment, and feeling those tears show up uninvited. That's not sadness leaking through. That's your body doing exactly what it's built to do with anything too big to hold quietly. And if you've ever wondered whether your own reactions to big moments are normal, whether other people process emotional intensity the same way you do, or whether it says something specific about you, That's actually one of the more interesting questions to sit with, and it's worth thinking about the next time a moment catches you off guard. Every mammal produces tears. Dogs, cats, elephants, whales. Their eyes make tears to stay lubricated, to flush out irritants, to protect the cornea. That's basic biology, and it's shared across almost the entire animal kingdom. But emotional tears triggered by a feeling instead of a physical irritant appear to be something else entirely. As far as researchers have been able to establish, humans are the only species that cries because of what we feel, not just what touches our eyes. Biochemist William Frey spent years studying this distinction directly, and his research found something remarkable. Emotional tears are chemically different from the tears your eyes produce when you cut an onion. Frey's work showed that emotional tears contain higher levels of stress hormones and proteins, suggesting the body isn't just lubricating the eye, it's actively expelling something. Crying, in this light, isn't a byproduct of emotion. It's a biological mechanism for discharging it. But the deeper question is why this evolved as a social behavior at all, and this is where it gets personal. Think about the moments that reliably produce happy tears across almost every culture on record. The birth of a child, a reunion after long separation, watching someone you love achieve something they fought hard for. These aren't private moments. They're almost always witnessed. Someone is there to see the tears. That's not a coincidence. Emotional tears are visible in a way that internal feelings simply aren't. A racing heart, a flood of relief, a wave of love too large to describe, none of that can be seen by the people around you. But tears can. They are, in a very real sense, the only part of overwhelming emotion the outside world gets to witness. This is why the moment a parent first holds their newborn, or two people embrace at an airport after years apart, tears aren't incidental to the moment. They may be part of what makes the moment real to the people sharing it. The body isn't just processing what it feels, it's showing it to someone else in the one language that doesn't need translation. If emotional tears evolved to be seen, then they're not just a release valve, they're a message. And this is where the story shifts from what's happening inside your body to what's happening between you and the people around you. Researchers who study attachment and social bonding have pointed out that visible distress, even the good kind, tends to draw people closer rather than push them away. Tears act as a kind of unmistakable signal. This moment matters, this feeling is real, and I'm not hiding it from you. That signal invites connection. It's very hard to watch someone cry, happy or otherwise, and not feel pulled toward them in some way. This likely explains why happy tears show up so consistently in group settings, weddings, graduations, reunions, and rarely happen when someone experiences the same joy completely alone. The tears aren't just marking the emotion. They're marking the moment as one worth sharing, and they're doing it in a way words often can't keep up with. Try describing the exact feeling of watching your best friend get married, or your team win in the final seconds. Most people reach for the same handful of inadequate words: overwhelmed, indescribable, unreal, and then just point at their own face instead, because the tears are already saying it better. This is likely also why happy tears feel involuntary in a way that feels almost embarrassing. You didn't choose to cry. You didn't decide the moment deserved that. Your body made the call before you did, which is exactly the point. A signal you could consciously control wouldn't carry the same weight. The fact that you can't fake it convincingly is what makes it trustworthy to the people watching. None of this stopped when humans stopped needing to signal danger across a cave or a campsite. If anything, modern life gives this response more opportunities to show up than ever. You cry at a movie ending you know isn't real. You tear up at a stranger's wedding video on your phone. You feel your eyes sting during a sports moment that has nothing to do with your own life. The triggers have changed. The mechanism hasn't. What has changed, in a lot of cultures, is how acceptable it is to let that response show. Many people, men in particular, in a lot of Western contexts are raised to treat any crying, happy or otherwise, as something to suppress. But suppressing an emotional release doesn't switch off the underlying spike. It just removes the valve the body was trying to use. Some researchers who study emotional regulation have suggested that people who consistently hold back tears in overwhelming moments tend to report feeling more physically tense and slower to come down afterward, compared to people who let the response happen. The body still hits capacity. It just doesn't get the same release. This is worth noticing next time it happens to you, that flicker of surprise when your eyes well up at something good, and the instinct to explain it away or blink it back before anyone sees. If you've ever caught yourself doing that, you're not alone in it, and honestly, it's one of those small human patterns worth paying attention to the next time you feel it start. Because the moments that make you cry from happiness are rarely random. They tend to cluster around the same handful of themes: love, reunion, achievement, relief, the exact things your nervous system was built on, long before language, to treat as the most important events in a life. So why do you cry when you're happy? Not because happiness itself demands tears, but because your body has never actually separated good from overwhelming. It only knows intensity. When a feeling gets too large to hold quietly, the same system fires whether that feeling is grief or joy, and tears become the one signal built to carry a message words can't move fast enough to send. That's why it happens at weddings and reunions and finish lines. That's why it's uniquely human, chemically distinct, and almost always witnessed by someone else. It was never a malfunction. It was always communication, the oldest kind you have. So the next time your eyes sting at something good, at something too big to explain in the moment, don't rush to blink it back. That's not your body confusing joy for sadness. That's your body doing what it's done since before you had words for any of this, telling the truth about a feeling, in the one language every human has always understood without being taught.